So welcome everyone. Sorry for the difficulties there, but we're so glad that you're able to be with us tonight. And for those of you that are at home, that you're able to join us from these slides. And I'm going to just talk about a few of these slides. And then if you're from our team Facebook page, you can find these pages that we're going to be going over. Those in Farmington, they have it for themselves, the papers. But if you want these, the paper, you can find it in the file section of our Team Take Action Facebook page, and then you can just print it off. But we're going to have this option here for us tonight, and I just wanted to again welcome you. It's always a crazy time getting things like this pulled together, but kudos to the Farmington group, and I'm so sorry I'm not able to be there with you all tonight. My grandma's not doing well. She's 102, so she's lived an amazing life, but she is it's her probably last hours. So of course I wanted to be there with you, but that I can be here tonight via Zoom is one of the reasons why I love the flexibility of what I get to do. And we're going to talk tonight how obstacles and resistance, we've experienced a little bit of those already tonight, right? Just trying to get on here on Zoom. How obstacles and resistance block us from living the life that we love. Okay, so let's go into definition first of what does it mean to live a life that we love. So living a life that you love doesn't mean that everything's always perfect and that nothing goes wrong. It does not mean a life without struggle. It does mean a life where you feel safe. You are providing for yourself. You are able to handle obstacles without throwing yourself into negative talk. You enjoy those around you. You find fulfillment in your career. You are centered with your emotions. You have meaningful relationships, stable income. You're clean and sober. You know that you're doing your best, feeling as if you're contributing, living with a purpose, a meaningful connection and relationship with God. You're achieving your goals, realizing your dreams, and you know that you're positively impacting the lives of others. So it's really being determined to see the change that you want to see in other people. So I know that that's an extensive list. Like that's the goal, I think, of all of us, that we would love to be able to say, yes, those are all things that are happening in my life. Yes, I feel like I'm living a life that I love. Yes, that is definitely me. And sometimes we feel more secure about this list, and we know, yes, that's us. And other times, some of those areas maybe are a little bit waning, or we feel like it's a little bit out of balance, or just sometimes looking at that and looking at yourself and just your life, and you think, you know what, I don't feel safe where I'm at, or I'm not able to provide for myself. If something happened to my spouse, I would not be able to provide for myself. That can cause angst in your mind, even if you don't realize it. So what living your life that you do love means that you really, most of the time, feel like this is in balance. Obviously, there's things that happen that take you out of that, but for the majority of the time, you feel like these are secure in your life. And if you don't, I just want you to think about the two things tonight that we're going to talk about, obstacles and resistance, and how those can block us from living the life that we love. So the first one we're going to talk about is obstacles. Okay, so obstacles are outside forces. Okay, so an obstacle is something you don't necessarily have a lot of control over. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So let's just use that first one right there. So the family money problems. Okay, so if you, as a child, your parents really struggled financially, not a whole lot you can do about that, right? That was an outside force that really impacted your life, but that you didn't have a big say in. So sometimes that being the case when we're younger, and if we don't think through that obstacle or even recognize that it is an obstacle, then it can really be impacting how we think about money and how we pursue money or don't pursue money, maybe fears around money and those types of things. So that's just one example. maybe unrealistic expectations. If you work in a job where you feel like your boss is just always on you, or you've got a lot of paperwork to do, and you've got maybe a lot of patients that you have to see. You've got unrealistic expectations of children's parents. On you, and you've got a lot of outside forces that just are unrealistic of the ability to be able to juggle all of those things. So those are an outside obstacle that are impacting your mindset, even your health. Sometimes it can make a big difference. Let's jump on the other side. How about just a feeling of overwhelm? I know when my kids were little, it was hard. I had three and under, and they all needed me at all times. Like, someone seemed like they were crying, most of the day between the three of them. And it was overwhelming. And I remember being at my mom's house, and I was just like, oh, I'm so tired. And she said, do you ever just want to come back, and just be the kid again? And I was like, yeah, can I do that tonight? Like, can I just be the kid? I don't want to be the mama today. So sometimes overwhelm, it wasn't any, really a fault of my own. It was just, life was hard at that time. There were three little people that needed a lot of attention. So that could be one. What about lack of sleep? All right. As a new mom, I know that made a difference. Or just, for whatever reason, thoughts always going through your mind, just being busy, and you're going to bed late and you're waking up early. Sometimes lack of sleep is just because of necessity of a schedule at that point, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. We'll just read through this list. If you have the paper in front of you, I want you to circle the things that you feel right now in your life are an obstacle that may be blocking you from living the life that you really love, okay? So family, money problems, and if you don't have the paper, you can just write down the ones that you think could be it. So family, money problems, unmet expectations, unrealistic expectations, probably just expectations in general, feeling of failure, a lack of purpose, illness, lack of support from family, negative influence from others, conflict, relationship stress, time constraints, betrayal, hard times, opposition to your ideas, a toxic work environment, comparison with others, personality problems or conflicts, family background and upbringing, missing a partner, addiction to something, crazy kid schedule or kids' crazy schedule, abuse from others, overwhelm. How about the supermom expectation? That was a big one for me, just feeling like I had to get all things juggled and right and perfect. A lack of positive influencers, a negative example in your life, or maybe just somebody that speaks very negatively to you. It could have been a negative example of somebody when you were younger that had a big influence on you. Comparison to siblings, that can be a big one for kids, but again, that can influence you even now. Expectations to be perfect. Perfection leads to procrastination. If you've ever noticed that, like waiting until the perfect time or the perfect moment to step into something. Just that expectation, again, that's come up a couple of times. And lastly, lack of sleep. So circle those things. I'll give you just a second to kind of look through those, think through those, and what's impacting your life right now. Okay, so let's move to the next one. So resistance, I'm going to read to you the definition of resistance, okay? So remember, obstacles are outside of us. Resistance is within us. So resistance is a restrictive negative force. Its aim is to distract us, to discourage us, and to stop us. It's the force that holds us back from making progress. Resistance opposes you anytime you try to do something different or outside the box. It convinces you to stay in bed instead of face the day. It convinces you to stay quiet versus share something that really is meaningful to you. It is what has you focus on the one negative comment versus the 10 positive comments. Okay, so again, it's a restrictive negative force. Its aim is to distract us, to discourage us, and to stop us. What's interesting about resistance is within us. That's in our head. So resistance is something that we have a lot of control over, and it's what we allow space in our mind. It's the stories we say. It's often the stories we make up about other people and what they might be saying. Okay, so same thing like we did with the obstacles. As we go down this list, circle the things that you feel in your life right now are things that might be creating or resistance, and resistance creates these feelings. So if you feel these things, if this is something that you're experiencing right now or something you've struggled a lot in life, go ahead and circle that. Okay, so this looks like shame, holding back. So you know you could do more, but it's that negative, restrictive force that's wanting to distract us that tells you, no, you can't do that. That's not for you. And you feel yourself, instead of leaning into something, that you feel yourself holding back and pulling back, maybe even a wall that you put up. It's negative self-talk. Think about even the things we say like, I'm so stupid. I don't know why I didn't remember where I put that. Or, I'm always dropping things. I always lose things. I'm such an idiot. Okay, that's negative self-talk that sometimes we say just kind of joking to other people, but we wouldn't be okay if somebody else said that to us. Resistance creates feelings of anger or fear, feeling small. Sometimes that starts us into a mindset of laziness or just kind of a general bad attitude, blaming other people, not taking responsibility for ourselves, procrastination, yelling. If you find yourself yelling a lot, that can be a sign that you've got, resistance playing in your head. How about a desire to seek revenge? This is a lot, again, about your mindset. It's what's happening inside your head. It's what makes you shrink back, creates a lot of worry in your mind, anxiety, anxiousness, worry, thinking things over and over again, replaying things in your mind. That can lead to a lack of desire. Like, I'm not even going to try. So feeling like you're giving up. Not feeling like you are enough or that you're not worthy. Giving powers to others. So you deflect, instead of making a decision, you just deflect onto somebody else, or you give them power in your mind. You give them residence in your mind. Weakness, perfectionism. I am a bad person. That will lead to no hope, feeling of aimlessness, maybe even feeling a pointless life. This is really getting more into the depression side of things. Life has no meaning. Unforgiveness, playing things over and over in your head, something that happened, something somebody said, and then that often causes huge feelings of resentment. Okay, so obstacles, something that happened, could have initially triggered resistance, but resistance is what we control. So we're the one that gives this space in our mind. Okay, so I know this is kind of a hard thing to think of and to really grasp a hold of, but it can be extremely powerful once you're able to recognize what resistance is. Because once you recognize what it is and you can name it, then you can do something with it. All right, so I'm going to give you two examples, and I'm going to stop the screen share here and just go back to me on this bigger screen. Okay, so two examples of resistance. So it's, like I said, it's that self-talk. It's what we allow space in our mind. So I have a friend in Alabama, and I was going back to Alabama to do a health talk. And so I was inviting all of my friends from there. There was a doctor coming to speak, and I wanted her to come. So I sent a message to this girl, and I just said, hey, Susan, I'm going to be in town. I have a doctor that's coming to speak. I'm helping to host this event. I would love to see you. Is there any way that you can come? And she wrote back, I thought you despised me. like, oh, despised you. I don't think I've ever used that word, like seriously used that word, that I despise someone. And so I really thought, like, did her kids get a hold of her phone and they answered back? Like, I was just shocked that she said that. And I just wrote back, despised you? No, Susan, I don't despise, like, are you serious? And no answer back. I could see that she read it. So like for a couple of weeks, I was like, man, I don't know. That was just weird. Well, I got to Alabama and I was making follow-up calls and reminding people about the event. And I thought, you know what, she didn't answer, so I'm just going to call her. Like, you know, if she really thinks that I despise her, I need to clear something up with her. So I called her and she answered. And I said, hey, Susan, it's Stacy. You know, I'm coming into town and I just wanted to see if you're going to be able to come to the event. But before we get into that, when I asked you, you replied back with, you thought I despised you. Was that you that wrote that? And she said, yes. And I said, Susan, do you really think that I despise you? And she said, yeah, I thought you did. And I said, Susan, I don't despise you. I'm really confused. I don't understand. Like, why would you think that? And she said, because of the last time I saw you. Ladies, I was like, I don't even remember the last time I saw her. So I'm thinking back through my mind. I'm trying to, like, what the heck did I say? You know, like, oh my goodness, what did I say? And so I said, Susan, I'm sorry, I don't even remember the last time I saw you. Like, where were we? And she said, it was when we were at the soccer fields. And so I was like, okay, I did remember that. And I remembered, like, Brielle had left her bracelet with the coach, and she called the coach, and the coach came and brought the bracelet back. So I remembered that being a positive experience. She'd helped me with that. We were moving at the time. Like, I was packing. Jarrett was already gone out of town. Maybe I was, you know, more stressed and not as friendly as I typically am. So I just said, was there something that I said or something specific that I did? I'm so sorry that you have felt that way, because I don't despise you. I adore you. That's why I wanted you to come to this event. And she said, well, it was just kind of how you were acting and the way you were that day. And so I just apologized and I said, I don't. And, you know, I would really like to see you. And so she was like, well, my husband does say that I wear my feelings too shallow. And so I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding. And so she kind of lightened up. We talked about family and stuff, and then about the event. So that's an example of, for months, Susan thought I despised her. She had played over whatever I said or whatever I did in her mind enough times to the point that she felt like I despised her. How did that affect me for those 2 months? It didn't. I didn't even know. I didn't even know that she was feeling that way, right? So that time, she allowed that in her mind. She could have called me and said, she could have sent me a message and clarified that, but she took it to the place that I disliked her so much. And I was saddened that, for sure, maybe that there really was something that I had done. And of course, I want to be much more aware of that. But I was mostly saddened for her, that she had given me that much power and that much space in her mind and had molded over and had grown to this place in her head that I despised her, when none of it was true. How much do we do that to ourselves? How much do we say things in our mind and make it into a bigger deal and replay it and replay the situation and what was said and what wasn't said and what I should have said, what I could have said, what I'm going to say next time. And boy, we work up those feelings and we make something small into something much bigger than it was. And then that becomes the resistance that pulls us back when we try to step out again. If she has a feeling in her mind that a friend despises her, that's going to affect her ability to meet a new person and make a friendship, right? Because that's still going to be in her mind that I don't know if they'll like me because some people despise me. See what I mean? How much power she gave me that wasn't mine to have. There was no reason for that to have even been in her head. So that's one example of what that resistance can look like. So that was resistance within her own mind, something that had happened maybe that she allowed to grow bigger. So Once we can recognize what resistance is, like I said, once we can give it a name to where we're like, oh, that's resistance. Okay, I know what to do with you, resistance. You don't belong here. You don't get space in my head. This isn't where you live. Now get out. Okay, so I'm going to give you a visual for this. One day you come home and you walk in the door and the house is destroyed, like beyond destroyed. It's a mess. The pillows are off the couch. The stuffing is pulled out of those pillows. The curtains are hanging down. The rod is crooked. There's broken glass on the floor from a vase that got knocked over. Some of the furniture is knocked over. There's mess everywhere. It's just like horrifying, and you're thinking, what in the world is going on? So you get the pillows and you stuff the pillows back and you put those on the couch, and then you go get a broom, you hang the curtains back up, and you turn around, the pillows are out again, the stuffing's out, there's more glass on the floor. It's like the faster you're cleaning up, the more something is making a mess, and you're just like, what is going on here? So out of the hallway runs this little goat, okay? And you say, a goat? Why is there a goat in here? Goats don't belong in my house. No. Hey, goat, what? No. And you go chase that goat. You wrestle that little goat. You pull him to the door. You open the door. You kick that goat out. And you're like, no, goats don't belong in my house. Goats make a mess. Goats belong outside, but they don't belong in my house. So you get the whole house cleaned up and you're all good. You get it all back together. A couple weeks later, you come back and the mess is again. And instantly, you know, that stinking goat got back in here. First of all, I got to find the goat and get it out. Second, I got to figure out how's the goat getting in here, or who's letting that dang goat get in my house again. Enough's enough. No goats in the house. You find the goat, you get the goat outside, and you put up some barrier, you put up a fence, you spank the child that let the goat in the house, whatever it was, like you stop the goat. The goat can't come in. Okay, girls, resistance is the goat. You don't let a goat live in your house because it wreaks havoc. It creates chaos. It's destructive. That's what resistance is. Resistance pulls you back from stepping forward. It's the voice in your head that says, this isn't for you, that's for other people, but it doesn't really belong to you. Bam, what is that? That's a goat. That's resistance? No, resistance. I know your name. I recognize you. You don't belong in my head. Get out. Just like you make the goat get out, you make the resistance. You don't play with the goat in the house. You're not feeding the goat in the house. You don't put little ribbons on the goat. No, the goat has to go outside. And the same thing has to happen. You can't play with those thoughts of resistance. You can't let them sit in there and fester and grow. They got to go out. They don't have a place. You don't get to let that go in there. Okay, so let's just say, let's just go with shrinking back. We'll use that one. So somebody, you have an opportunity to do something big, and somebody asks you to do something way outside your comfort zone. Okay, first of all, if they're asking you to do it, they believe you can. So let's just trust that first. But the thought comes in, who am I? Who am I to do that? Like, if I do that, like, they're going to know I'm not a professional at this. They're going to have, whatever. We start building this into our mind. So then you recognize it. Oh, yeah, that's resistance. Okay, so that's resistance. Is that true? They're asking me to do something. Is it true that I can't do it? If they said that I could because they asked me if I would, then I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to believe that I can, and I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes because it's the exact opposite of resistance. Resistance pulls back. Living the life you love is going to come from leaning in. When you lean into that feeling of uncomfortable, of like, oh, that's outside of my comfort zone, that's where you have growth, right? That's where you're going to see change. That's where you're going to see momentum and forward motion. So to give you another idea, in my own self, one of the top positions in the company that I work for, I think you guys are all Juice Plus reps, but I'm not sure. One of the top positions is Qualified National Marketing Director. It was something I had worked really hard for, and I remember they asked me, the corporate company asked me if I would be one of the trainers at one of the breakout sessions at conference. And I knew by then, say yes. You'll figure it out. Just say yes. So I was super honored, super excited, and I said, yes, I would love to do that. And so they worked with me. They helped build the PowerPoint. I was training on the virtual office, how to use the virtual office. So they were training me on that, and they did a lot of this PowerPoints. We did training back and forth. I knew what I was doing. I knew the material. I was ready. I was ready for Memphis, Tennessee, and I was ready to do this talk. So I get to Memphis, Tennessee, and I was like, oh, this is where I have to talk. Oh, this is the moment. Oh, okay, this place. And I went into this funk, this crazy mindset. So I had just made qualified national marketing director, and they were going to be, I was going to be recognized on stage. I was going to be recognized by our team. It was a big accomplishment, and I panicked. I really did. I had just bought new clothes because I was done having kids and being pregnant and nursing, and I was back to my normal size, and I was staying there. So I had actually bought new clothes, and I wanted to look professional, and I was really excited going into it. And then something happened where those little doubts started to creep in. Those little goats started taking residence, and one goat got in, and here came another goat, and before long, I was in a panic, y'all. I mean, like my heart was palpitating. Like, I remember Sharon introduced me to one of her friends as her new qualified national marketing director, and I put my hand over Sharon's mouth because this was my thought. If she tells them I'm a qualified national marketing director, they're going to have these expectations, and they're going to figure it out. I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't really know exactly how I got here. And I'm not really a leader like all the rest of these leaders are. I've looked up to these people for forever. So like, they're going to figure it out that I don't really know what I'm doing. And I literally put my hand over her mouth, and I did that. And then I remember pulling back and being like, why did I just do that? What is going on in my mind? Well, thankfully, that conference, there was a speaker, Catherine Lee, if you guys have heard her. She was at a breakout session for Wendy Campbell's leadership, and I got to be a part of that. It's the only conference that I've ever had that we went one day early and did training just for leaders with Wendy's leadership team. It was awesome. And I so needed that because Catherine Lee talked about stinking thinking and how you have a thought that comes into your mind and it starts to spin. And it goes over and over again and it's spinning. And you know that that's not a rational thought, but you don't know what to do with it. And she talked about stopping it, catching it, evaluating it. Is this true? Is it really true that I don't know what I'm doing? Because I don't just get a promotion to qualified national marketing director from sitting in the company for long enough. I got that because my team and I had worked for it. So, okay, it's not that I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, what is this? It was really a feeling of intimidation and feeling like I wasn't good enough from all of these leaders. Like I said, I highly esteemed them and they were amazingly welcoming. It wasn't them. It was this crazy that was spinning here. Once I had stopped it, grabbed a hold of it, was able to look at it, name it, think it through, I replaced it with the truth and I threw it away. And I no longer gave it space in my head. And that was the exact talk that she did. She had a paper that she worked through, and it was exactly what I needed. So I wrote down on a paper, my name is Stacy Turner. I have earned the position of qualified national marketing director. I have been asked to speak, and I know my stuff. I know this material. I am honored, and I have accepted it because I am a leader within this company. I said something like, I am ready for this, and something I ended with, I am ready. So the day comes that I have to speak, and I'm pretty nervous about it. So I go back to my hotel room, and I put on Christian music, and I was just praying praise songs, and I just started praying, and I asked God just to calm my heart, to give me his strength and his courage, I wanted to do a good job. You know, I didn't want to blow it by the not speaking well or forgetting what I was saying. Like I really had a desire to do this well, and I knew that I could because I had studied this. I was prepared. I really was ready. And so I went up, I walked into the room. By the time I walked in, I was like cool as a cucumber. I was ready for this. I wasn't in freak out mode anymore. I had caught that negative thinking. I named that goat for what it was. I had tossed it out. I had replaced it with God's truth in my life. I had allowed that into my heart and into my mind. And I just settled. And I know that was God's presence within me. I walked up on the stage. It was standing room only. There were like hundreds of people in there. I wasn't expecting that either, but I was okay. I was all right with it. And then I remember I told them, look, you know, this is kind of what I've gone through this last couple of days. I've been really nervous about it, but I wrote this, and I wrote that on that paper because I had to take it out and read it to myself every 5 minutes. And then it got to where every 10 minutes I would read it. Then every, like once an hour, I would read it. And then it just stayed in my pocket. And then I kept that and I read it to them. And at the end it said, I am ready. And I said, are you ready? And they all cheered. Like, they're all the most encouraging people ever. And I did the talk, and I, you know, did the PowerPoint a couple times. They were laughing, and I was like, oh, I like this. Like, this is really good. At the end, I was like, I want to do it again. I only got to do that once. Like, now I really know it. And I was even more confident, and I wanted to show that I could do it again. I was kind of bummed that I only got to do it one time. And that is what, if I didn't do that, if I had let resistance sit in my head the first time I was asked and say, speaking in front of all those people, like, Stacey, are you really ready for that? If I had said, you know what, I'll just let this, I'll do it the next time, resistance would have won. How about when I was having to work on a PowerPoint and I'd never even done PowerPoint before? I didn't know that. I could have said, it's too much, it's too overwhelming, I just can't do this, and I could have shut down. How about once I got there, I could have told him, you know, look, I'm too nervous, I can't, or had not been able to stop that goat from gaining ground in my head. I would have missed out on an incredible growth opportunity. And that's what I want to encourage you guys tonight. Saying yes, saying no to resistance, I should say, and not giving obstacles, outside forces, any more room than they have, not giving them more power than what they deserve or need or have reason to take up space, not listening to that resistance or letting that goat get in and make a mess really does give you the opportunity to grow and to move forward and to achieve and to have those feelings of balance and peace within your life. Doesn't always feel like that right now, but if you continue working on those areas, then you're going to see change. And over time, it's quicker and it's faster to recognize that resistance for what it is. And you'll say, that's resistance. No, I don't play with resistance. You need to get out. And it doesn't take up as much space. So I hope tonight made sense to you guys, that you can take this information and apply it to so many different areas. Parenting, relationships. I've been in the moment of just a ton of thoughts going through my mind in a time where I'm supposed to be spending intimate time with my husband, and I can't even think about anything else because all this is going in my mind. And I named it. That's resistance. Why am I resisting his affection to me? I don't have to. Resistance out. And there's a new calm. It opens up my mind to be able to just enjoy, his presence and being with him and not thinking about 1,000 other things. So it can be with your kids, feelings of, I'm not a good parent. No. That's resistance. Out goat. With friends, feeling like you're building up a wall. No, walls don't belong in my life. They don't belong in my head. Out. And you're not going to give it that much space. So, like I said, I hope you're able to take some of what I shared tonight and apply it to different areas in your life. So I so appreciate you all. I'm going to stop the recording.